By the end of this video, you'll know how to knit not only the easiest hat, but also a hat that fits your exact style. Hi guys, it's Jeff from Hobbii, and today we are going to knit our first easy hat. It is beginner friendly, and if you already know how to purl and how to knit, then this is gonna be a piece of hat cake. You know, when you need a gift and you don't have the time to go buy one, you don't have the time. It saved me a lot of times from moments when I needed a gift and I didn't have time to go buy one, but I had some yarn laying around and I was like, I'm gonna use that yarn for something. And this is how this hat was born. This hat is gonna fit you like a glove or a hat. It's gonna fit you perfectly because we're gonna be using our own head measurements to actually knit it. It's gonna be knit in the round, and what you need is pretty much just a yarn that fits your needles. And yeah, let's get to it. So the construction of our hat is made of 1 part ribbing to make it stretchy, and the rest is going to be knitted in Stockinette Stitch. I am using Molly, which is my absolute favorite wool because it's not itchy and because it's super elastic and it's super soft. And of course, last but not least, I'm also using a pair of 10mm circular needles because these are the recommended ones for Molly. We need a measuring tape to measure, we need a pompon maker to make a pompon, we need a stitch marker to mark that first stitch, a tapestry needle for weaving in the ends, and of course a scissor. And this one, oh boy is it cute. I measured my head, it measures 54 centimeters, meaning that when I cast on, my cast on has to be 54 centimeters long-ish, right? Let's say 50. What I want to do is take 10 centimeters off if my yarn is stretchy, which is the case with my wool. So I took off 10 centimeters, meaning that my cast on was 40. This is what you want to do if you're working with stretchy yarn. If you're working with something like cotton, something like, I don't know, viscose or tencel that it doesn't stretch at all, you want to definitely cast on the circumference of your head. So that's what you want to do. Just go ahead, measure your head, take around 10 to 14, 15 centimeters off if your yarn is chunky and stretchy, and let's get to the cast on. Cast on time. All right, let's do this. So we need to cast a even or pair number of stitches because first of all, we're working a rib as the edge of our hat. And second, because it's going to be easier when we're going to be doing the decreases on our last round. So what I've done here is that I have unraveled some yarn, divided it into 2 piles like this. You have to do a slip knot, that's the first step. So we're gonna be doing our little slip knot like this. And da-da-da-da. Take your needle, insert it through the loop, make sure that it slides easily. And what you want to do is take your index and your thumb and insert it through the 2 strands of yarn. Now, with the needle, pull it down like this. So you pull your needle down like this. If you look at the shape, it's kind of like a rhomb, like a rhombus, but it's not really because it's not equal. But yeah, it is kind of like that, and you just pull this down. And the reason you want to do this is because you are going to start inserting your needle through the first strand of yarn here, the long tail strand. And you see I've inserted it, and then I turn my hand around and I catch on the other thread, and then I pull it through this loop over here like this, scoop. And then I can actually pull on this to create my first cast on stitch. And 1 and 2 and 3. Music, please. Alright, so now I've casted on 34 stitches, which is the amount of stitches that I need. And now the next step to take is to join in the round. And the way you do that is that in my case, my cable is very long, so I'm just going to pull on it in the middle of my work, like this, so that the stitches will come to the end, to the tips of, well, the end tips or whatever you want to call it, of the needles. Once you do this, you really want to make sure that your stitches are not twisted. This is super important. They have to not be twisted. They have to be facing in the same direction. So now what we want to do is join these two in a round to form a circle. And it's quite easy. You just have to make sure that your working yarn is on this hand and your first cast on stitch is on the needle on this other hand. Alright, so now what you want to do is you take your needle that has the working yarn and you insert it through the first loop that you have ever casted on. I'm gonna just show that again. You insert your needle through the first loop, and now what you have to do is just work a knit stitch to connect them, and voila! It is now connected. So the rib stitch consists of knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. I've knitted already one, and the next one I have to purl it. So I'm just going to insert my needle through the second loop that I have made, I cast it on, and just purl it however you, whoops, sorry, however you want to purl it. You purl it your own way. Now, I'm going to knit the third one, and the fourth I'm going to purl. So just like that. Now we're going to purl again. There we go, through the loop and out, and just keep on doing that. Knit and then purl, and then knit and then purl until you get to the end of the round. So for those of you who don't know, the rib stitch basically consists on knitting on top of your knitted stitches and purling on top of your purling stitches so that it makes that wave. Now, one thing's for sure, when we're gonna reach the end of our first round, we want to mark it with a stitch marker so that we know which one is our first stitch. And once we have that, we're just gonna continue doing the same thing that we've done so far, which is knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. So yeah, let's keep on doing it and see what it's gonna look like in a few rows. Alright, so I have knitted quite a chunk of rib stitch, and once I'm gonna get to the end of the round, which is where my stitch marker is, things are gonna get spicy. I am so excited to get there. There we go, last stitch, and oh my god, it is done. Okay. You know what this means. This means that I have to look at it, and this means that I have to also try it on to see if it's too tight, which I will do eventually. But this is the rib, and now what we want to do is the rest of it is gonna be knitted in stockinette stitch. So let's get to it. We still want to mark up that first stitch, so remember to put back your stitch marker. This is gonna come in handy when we're gonna be starting the decrease. Now, to create the stockinette stitch in the round, all we need to do is simply knit every stitch we have on. If we were to actually knit in the flat, we would need to knit on the right side and purl on the wrong side. But like I said, since we're doing it in the round, all we have to do is the knit stitch on and on and on. So now we're going to continue in stockinette stitch until our hat reaches the length we want it to reach. And remember, you can always just try it on. And also remember to mark that first stitch. And yeah, I'll just come back once I have a little chunk knitted away so you can see how mine looks, okay? All right, here it is. As you see here, this is the stockinette, and it also has a chunk of rib and a chunk of stockinette. And I'm simply going to continue in stockinette, and yeah, come back and show you guys what it looks like when my hat is almost finished. Alright, so here is our hat. I have finished the stockinette stitch, and as you can see, I'm basically at the end. Alright, it's decrease time! So, we have even numbers of stitches, which comes very in handy when we have to decrease in a very even way. So decreasing means that you're going to be knitting 2 or more stitches together. In this case, we're going to be knitting these 2 stitches together to create just 1 stitch. This will give it a really beautiful shape to the hat on the top, a little bit rounded up. So what you want to do is take your needle and insert it in the second stitch from your marker, just like this. So it's going to be a little hard to do, but just takes a little bit of strength. And once you've done that, what you have to do is knit those two stitches together. So it's going to be like a little hard, like there we go. We got it. That's our first decrease over there. And what we want to do is basically continue doing that until we reach the last stitch, which is this one over here. And yeah, I mean, let's get to it because it's gonna take a while, especially if in this case I knitted a little bit tight. So it's gonna be a little hard, you know, to get that needle through the stitches. But once you do it, you know, it just takes a little bit of practice to get it right. And yeah, just keep on knitting two stitches together. So if you have 30 stitches, you will end up with 15 stitches in the end. Or if you have 50 stitches, you will end up having 25. But yeah, you just knit two together until you reach the end of the round. We're done with our decreases, and now the chunk that's left of strand of yarn, we cut it and we put it through our tapestry needle, and we're gonna be inserting the tapestry needle through each of our stitches. So just like I have here, I've inserted my tapestry needle through these two loops, which also means that I can actually push them off the needle because they're on the strand of yarn. So I'm gonna start doing that little by little. Here we go. And this one as well. And then I'm just gonna keep inserting through each and every single loop I have on my needle. And yeah, I'm just gonna keep on doing that. So please keep on doing that until that little strand that's attached to your tapestry needle pulls through all the loops, goes inside all the loops. Once I pass my tapestry needle through all the loops, what I want to do right now, which is what I'm doing in the video, is basically tightening that gap that I've created by simply going through the stitches, pulling a little bit. You have to be really careful depending on what kind of yarn you're working with. In this case, I'm working with wool, so I am risking that the yarn breaks if I pull too fast and too strongly. So I just have to go like little by little and just make sure that I don't break the yarn. And now we've done what we had to do. Now our gap is sealed, and we're gonna take our tapestry needle, insert it through the middle, through the little hole, and we're gonna flip the hat inside out. And now the goal is to kind of make sure that we weave in this little tail that we've got here. So what I'm gonna do is take my tapestry needle, and I'm gonna just put the thread through a few of the stitches that go around, and maybe even go inside the hat through a few of those stitches just to make sure that I secure it. And then I'm gonna snap it off. Coming up next, the pom pom pom, and also weaving in the other little tail that we have going on. We have to weave in this little chunk of wool here, and we are going to do that by simply using our tapestry needle and trying to hide it between the stitches inside the hat. So let's pull the string through like this, and then start finding little spots where to hide this little strand. Well, I like to first insert my strand through this little gap over here, so I put it in through the first loop just because I like to make sure that it kind of looks like the rest of the stitches on my edging. And as you see here, it kind of looks the same, so that's when I actually start going upwards. So I'm gonna go upwards and then down. So I'm just gonna insert my needle through one of the stitches and pull through. And then I'm just gonna keep on doing that in a zigzag to make really sure that it is secured and that I'm not going to suddenly see a little tail coming out of my hat, and I'm just gonna go downwards like so, and I'm probably gonna go up again, but nonetheless just weave in your ends, and I'll see you once this is done and once I'm gonna start attaching the pompon. And here it is, the mighty pompon. This little guy was made by using the Clover Pompon Maker. We have them on our website. They're super easy to use and they save you loads of time. And now, last but not least, we want to attach this pompon to our little hat. So, what do we have to do? Basically, these little strands hanging out from the pompon, they have to go inside the hole that's on the top of our hat. So we will do that by simply using a tapestry needle, putting the thread through the little hole, pulling it out like this, and then weaving in those strands so that the pompon doesn't get loose or doesn't just fall off. Alright, so once you're done weaving in those pompon tails, what you want to do is secure it with a knot. I would rather do 2 knots just to make sure that it is pretty tight. And then snap those tails off with our little scissor. Just gonna snap. There we go. Whoop. And then whoop. There we go. And then turn your hat inside out. Yes, it's coming alive. It is here, it is finished, our own knitted hat. So, let me know if this worked out fine for you. If you have any questions, write it in the comment section below. And yeah, this is it. This is our pretty little hat. Alright guys, that was all from me, Jaya from Hobbii. And remember, if you have any questions or you just want to share how your hat turned out, please leave a comment in the comment section below. Remember to like this video because it means the world to us, and also subscribe to our channel for more fun about knitting, crocheting, and other stuff. So yeah, see you next time guys. Bye!